evening and welcome to the Super License F1 podcast. My name's Rodney.
And my name is Zach.
Good to be talking to you, Zach, in this, what do we call this, a spring break? Is this like an autumn break for you, I suppose?
Yeah. There is no talk about that, isn't it? The little bit of like, this is an unintended consequence of packing out the calendar in weird chunks that we've got a little bit of a break between Australia and... What is the next race, actually? It's
Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan? Yeah. Oh, I like that race. The castle one. Mm-hmm.
It's the castle race. It's Bowser's castle race. It's just unexpected, I guess, because we have in our minds it's going to be flat chat. There's going to be a race. There's going to be 3 like triple headers in a row, and then there's going to be the summer break. We're just conditioned for that now. But then all of a sudden we have a nice little month off, right? Seemingly at the start of the season. It's bonkers.
Just as we were like building up ahead of steam as well. You know what they say, peak and back off, right? You want to really get like so you can go the whole season. You got to, just as you're getting really excited, you just want to then take a breather.
Sure.
Just check in with yourself and make sure you understand where you fit and where all of the season fits together, and then you'll come back strong for Castle Race, which is great. Are you appreciating the slight break? Has this given you the breather that you need after a breathless start to the season?
I feel guilty about not doing more content,
Okay.
but I mean, not having races alleviates that because there hasn't been races to talk about, and there's been Australia, which I want to talk about. We should, and we'll get to that. But I think if there was races every week and I wasn't doing something about it or making something about it, I'd be like, I feel bad. But when there's no races, that makes me feel good, which is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some races today in general. It's going to be one of those shows, as always, where we sort of have our big, what would you call them, tentpole issues that we want to talk about. But around that will be a whole bunch of guff that we get distracted by. And then we're going to have a super quiz later. And, I guess we're building up. This is really... I still haven't worked out the exact date, but this is basically the last show before Super License turns 10, before it's the 10th birthday party. So whatever the next show is, whatever the next thing is we do, that'll be our 10th birthday party. That's exciting.
That's really exciting. I cannot believe that we've hit double digits. I can remember my own personal 10th birthday as a big deal in my mind. I'm like, I'm a bona fide kid now. I'm not like a little baby anymore. I'm 10.
I'm not a birthday boy. I'm a birthday man.
Yeah, I'm reading young adult fiction now. Stuff that's got little bits of violence and stuff in it. I feel like I can watch PG and maybe M-rated films.
Whoa, M. Slow down. Well, I grew up in a house with 3 older brothers that were the next oldest was 10 years older. So TV in my house was always ultra violent, just
you were
all
watching
mature
Under Siege
themes all the time.
when you were 7.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was very, very lucky in that sense.
Can I, so we can get right into it, this is not on the notes, so I want to...
we're already off
script. Something that just grabbed my attention today, hot off the presses at motorsport.com.
Sure.
Valtteri Bottas becomes the Adelaide event ambassador. Valtteri Bottas, this is a quote, has strengthened his ties to Australia by becoming an official ambassador for the Adelaide Motorsport Festival. As someone who lives in Australia, Rod, and as me as an Australian, let me ask you this question. How do you feel about this adoption? And seeming willingly from both parties here, Australia and Valtteri Bottas have Valtteri becoming basically an Australian.
Aussie Felipe Massa. I mean, basically, look, we'll get to this later, but we are entering the era of Massa. So we should all be preparing. I'm preparing myself psychically and financially and emotionally for his time. He's coming. He's coming back.
Yeah. So this is a really tricky one for me because I like Valtteri Bottas, and I like that he has gone full blown I'm super Australian because his partner is Australian, and he's all there for it. But this feels to me a little bit like, I don't have a place in the popular culture of Formula One, so I'm going to go find my niche. It's a Hasselhoff in Germany. It's
it is.
It's a Kylie Minogue in Soho. There are. I don't know. I felt like Pink for a long time was really preferential for Australia and was on our breakfast shows and hosting Australia's Got Talent or whatever. Is Valtteri Bottas going to be the special comms in future just for the Australian Grand Prix or something? I
love it. I mean, Formula One rolls around in Australia, and there's either people who love it and know everything about it, they know it backwards, they know what all the drivers had for breakfast, or there's the people who are like, psst, who should I follow? So look, that's the kind of punter who needs guidance and needs just a poster boy, and Valtteri Bottas is just the man for it. And I reckon with every slab of VB, you should be getting a poster of him in some terry toweling shorts and maybe a hat with the corks hanging down to put up on the garage door for all the inspiring like punters.
Yeah, I'm here for that. Okay. Do you want to, speaking of Melbourne, then, Can you
what a
give
great
me,
race.
Can you give it to me through your eyes, the experience of watching this Melbourne Grand Prix this year, the return?
I mean, first of all, the first 3 hours were great. Genuinely, I think it was a really good race, right until the last 3 laps or so. And then I remember watching it, and I was by myself, and everyone was out, so I was loving it. I was like, oh, this is great, I get to watch the race. And then I had this destined, like, a predetermined time, like I have to leave at this time to go and pick up people, like drive down to the train station or whatever.
Yep.
And I remember watching it on my phone. I was like, I'm going to have to watch the race on my phone while I get there because it's been dragged out because of this red flag. And then I missed the action of the one lap where it all went crazy a second time. But then after that, I was like, all right, all bets are off. I'll just watch this whenever. Because after it was probably, was it over an hour of just nothing happening and with one lap left or something? Just absurd stuff that really ruined what was before that a pretty good race.
It's crazy to me because I was running a marathon that day and in Paris, and I was
it's not a competition, but also well done. No. I think you won.
Yeah, I did win. Yep. You were probably all busy watching the Formula One, so you didn't probably weren't watching the highlights of the Paris.
Just sitting and not even doing any cardio or anything.
Yeah, I was right up there. And so I had my phone with me, and at the start, you're standing on the Champs-Elysees, and you're with 50,000 other people, and you're kind of standing around being a bit cold, waiting for like your group to go off because they don't just launch 50,000 people onto the streets of Paris in one go. They stage the starts.
They don't?
No, they don't. Anyway, so I was waiting on, and I was like, oh, you just check on the Formula One, and this probably would have been 2 hours into the race. I'm like, oh, just check the results. Nope, still going. And then I did a little cheeky check again before I started running. I was like, oh, still nothing quite confirmed. Yeah, let me just quick check on Twitter. I got slow internet because everybody else around you is also.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. I'm getting news that's 2 hours old because surely the race is finished by now.
Surely, come on. So yeah, I was quite perplexed, and then didn't engage with it again until like kind of the next day because I was busy, recovering from a marathon. But yes, it did feel like it went on and on and on and on, and it has caused quite the like. I always like stuff like this for Formula One because it causes almost like existential crises for Formula One. It's like, but what are we about if not sticking to the rules that we made up? Because that's what makes Formula One really good. And then it's like, but aren't we also about great racing and things being fair and all that kind of stuff? So Formula One's in a difficult position, right?
This is getting my goat because lately I've been seeing nothing but like social media posts from like, when the drivers were in Melbourne, we blindfolded them and asked them to part a golf ball into a cut. And it's like, who gives a shit about any of this fucking crap that you've made up for social media? Who cares? That's not what Formula One is. And then race comes and we have to sit around for an hour and a half while nothing happens because of the rules. And it's like, mate, like I always talk about and defend this idea strongly. Formula One should be a sport first and entertainment second. But that was one of the days where the entertainment like lobbyists needed to win out. Like their voice should have been made a lot clearer to say, folks, let's just wrap this up. The problem is every time this situation comes up where they're like, we hate it following the safety car for the last 6 laps of the race. It's so boring. Can't we just stop the race and wait around for half an hour and have 5 minutes of action? It's like, fine, we'll do that. Fine. And then you do it, and then guess what happens after 1 second of racing? Another freaking red flag.
Everyone crashes.
Like it's absolutely the worst scenario because then what's going to happen? Like you have another one, then you've got 3 laps left, you restart, guess what? There's another crash. I mean, this could go on for hours and hours and hours, and it's just absurd. So, I mean, the problem is every time we have a bad experience, everyone goes, right, we're going to fix this with this rule, and that's going to fix it forever. And then the problem is Formula One throws another edge case at you, and it's like, you didn't think about this, did you? And then they're like, I know, we'll fix that with this rule. And then when this happens, we'll always do that, and that'll fix it forever. And then Formula One throws another.
I've got a rule that I think can fix it. Do you want to hear my rule?
Yeah, give me your rule.
I think if for every lap that you do behind virtual safety car or actual safety car, you just add to the race laps. Just keep adding laps.
Give me that one again. Every lap behind a virtual safety car or an actual safety car counts to laps. Does it not?
No, doesn't count as an elapsed lap.
It doesn't.
So we
count.
just add those. You know, you got to add more laps. Right?
How does that?
Because that's not actual racing. That's like a
problem,
timeout. Because then we'll just keep getting more laps. Like
that's not what we needed in Melbourne, though. We needed fewer laps.
No, but we
needed
finished the race under the safety car.
Mercy rule.
It would have been like, all right, that lap doesn't count, so you get one more lap of real racing to actually race this thing to the bit of racing end. I know we'll keep getting crashes, but that's okay.
I think
you keep avoiding that lap until it's disqualification.
We do sometimes get safety cars that run for 10, 15 laps even, and I mean the problem is that's tires that are getting worn out, that's fuel that's getting worn out.
Yeah.
And then, well, you say, yeah, I know, right, and it's good. I'm like, no, it's bad. You're not getting the point, really.
Think of all
and then what's going to happen? Then what's going to happen is no more safety cars. We're going to call a red flag for everything. So it's not going to fix the problem. We're just going to get more red flags. Yeah,
we'll just get red flags, and then there won't be any added racing on top of it. But wouldn't you like to see all these teams having to come out being like, oh, fuck, we didn't budget for 15 more laps of racing, even though
what are they going to do?
All that fuel. We're going to have to race a little bit more slowly.
We fueled the car for 20 fewer laps of fuel. I guess we just retire.
No, we'll have to, I don't know, can we get them done really fast if we go much faster?
Get them done fast.
Or go really slowly and try to get to the end.
Formula One, where we get them done fast.
Yeah. I don't know. There isn't a simple fix to this thing. It's a shame of, we compare it to other sports, right? Like you think that like the fifth day on a test where it's like, well, we're not going to get the wickets, you're not going to get the runs. Let's just call it a day. Do you think that should happen in Formula One? Like, all right, 2 red flags, call off the race.
I think the thing for me, I think, is that if there's a red flag with fewer than 5 laps or 3 or 4 laps to go, you just call it. We're not waiting around for an hour just to do 3 laps. Call it. That's the end of the race. Neutralize the race. That's the end of the result there. Secondly, if there's a red flag and there's a delay of, not even a delay, but if there's like 2 hours from start time, there's those rules about time and stuff. The race started at this time, so it needs to be finished within X number of hours. But if the race has a red flag within, let's say, 15 minutes of 2 hours from the start time, then that's the end of the race as well. It doesn't matter how many laps you've done, that's the end of the race.
Let's call it.
Last one, and this one actually came from the Discord, so I want to throw this one out there. I think this was Florge who said that one.
Yep.
About pitting, like not pitting, but changing tires and stuff when there's a red flag. That shouldn't count as a pit stop. You should have to still make a pit stop.
Ooh.
That would just, I think, this is more about making better racing, and I like that. I think if there's a red flag, you don't just get the change from softs to hards and then just ride those hards all the way home, baby. You have to still make a pit stop, which I think also spices up the action because you could just throw in another set of softs, burn through some laps, but you still got a pit. You know what I mean?
You're thinking about everybody else at that point as well. Can I choose to, instead of just pausing and swapping tires, can I actually pit through the red flag? Like, will everybody, as soon as it looks like there's going to be a red flag, they just run into the pits really quickly? Like this is what happened to George Russell, right? It was like safety car, he went in on his own, and everyone else was like, "Oh, it's actually pretty bad. Maybe we'll just see what happens."
Well, it was a bit of a head scratcher, that one, the George Russell, because he was winning and he was under pressure from Hamilton, but the team was sort of like working out what they were going to do, I think, and I think pitting one of the drivers at that opportunity when it was a safety car, which turned into a stop. Pitting one of them was a neat way to just get a bit of distance from them to just neutralize that situation because they haven't led a race in a while.
Yeah,
but it didn't seem like I know he got unlucky in that stop turned into a free stop for everybody else because of the red. But it also is a bit of a head scratcher. Like, why did you stop at all? Doesn't necessarily make much sense. But I don't know. Anyway, so I mean,
they stopped him because they were concerned his car might light on fire. Oh, and then it did.
Maybe. What do you think? Because you've got a note here about Russell. So if we're ready, we can progress on to Russell.
Sure.
What do you think were the chances that Russell could have held on for a win in Melbourne?
I mean,
based on what you've seen.
What I've seen? I've seen Red Bulls clean driving around cars on turn whatever it is before you end up in the real golf coursey park.
There's bits that aren't overtaking areas that they turn into overtaking areas.
Exactly. They're like, wait a second, why are we all going so slowly? I'm just going to punch it around you.
Okay. we laugh, but we should point out, great addition to the Albert Park track where they've added a new DRS zone there to turn, I think it's turns 10 and 11, which used to just be where people would go, not to watch overtakes, but just to watch the cars move, because you kind of go flat out, then you brake really hard, the car sort of pitches forward, and then it turns left, and the car pitches to the right, then it turns right and accelerates, and the car pitches to the left, and it's just a great way to watch a car like flex. But people used to go there to watch that. Now they're going there next year. You won't even get a spot. There'll be 100 people deep at that spot.
The second half of Albert Park, I think, is a brilliant racetrack because, funnily enough, I think the drivers seem to have the same troubles that anybody has who's played the game of that track.
Yes.
Those last few corner hookups, like quickly, I've even when Max kind of towards the end of the race, came off the track a little bit, went onto the grass, penultimate corner. Like we've sat at that corner too and watched cars do that all day. It's just like, wait a second, a bit too quick in here, locked up, through. Here I go. It's just, I don't know, it's tricky because it makes it, that second half of Albert Park looks like it should be really fast, and it is, but it's a little bit, because it's a street circuit as well. It's not that tacky. It has all
the pedestrian bit.
Yeah.
Pedestrian meaning cars just follow through.
Yeah, exactly. It feels, I don't know, it's like all one big trick. It's like, I look like a real race circuit. However, I have all these tricksy little parts that make me not really operate like a normal, like, dedicated racing circuit. So, yes, I think that is a great spot. But yeah, the Red Bulls, I mean, Max Verstappen looks like he can just turn it on, turn it off. Like, it's like, oh, you want me to go really fast? Okay. What do I need to do? Just be patient. All right. I'll just wait until everything's really clean and nice. And I think that's a really smart thing from Red Bull and Max Verstappen too, is to basically say, look, whilst we've got this great advantage over everybody else, let's play it pretty clean and like not too crazily. Because even when, at the start, Hamilton crept up inside Verstappen, and I'm like, oh, Verstappen from a season and a half ago would have been like, that's my line, and just turned into him. And now he's like, all right, off you go. I'll see you in 3 laps when I just drive clean.
He knows I'll get him. That's right. Yeah. Verstappen didn't have his wingman alongside him on the grid due to qualifying. Man, Perez had a day to forget on Saturday. And
I don't think I know. Can you tell me what happened on Saturday? I didn't see any of this. There's been so much news since then that anything kind of pre-race is like lost to the.
Yeah, I understand completely. That's me most races at the moment. But it was tricky conditions. It was wet and dry, and Perez just kept losing it, just kept dropping it, and just couldn't really keep it together. Just couldn't get a lap together, and just was out. So that was the long and short of it, basically, and got eliminated in Q1. So anyway, Verstappen didn't have him alongside. So surrounding him was the Mercedes, Russell and Hamilton, and granted, both the Mercedes made great starts and were putting, not only putting pressure on Verstappen, but got past. So really good scrap into turn 1 from Hamilton and Verstappen, which before the race, Hamilton was trying to remind people like, yeah, remember when I was here on debut and I overtook about 3 cars in turn 1? That might happen again. And he was really talking it up. I was like, man, I don't know if you remember, but this is not, the car you're driving is not really dominant anymore. But he proved me wrong because he got past. But Verstappen... So first of all, there's red flags and George Russell pitting and whatever. But look, Verstappen got into the lead, pulled off into the lead, built a gap. The Mercedes were nowhere near him. They were only close at the end because of the red flag. And people are talking about this Mercedes driver as if like they're back. This is it. We're going to threaten. We're going to take him to the. We're going to challenge for the title this year. Like, what are you talking about? You've shown nothing. That's. Yeah. I mean, it's better than coming midfield or whatever for sure. But that's not the championship challenging performance. No, especially when you've still got, there's still some pesky Aston Martins drifting around as well. Like, it's not just between you and somebody else. I think so. Right? Is there what?
I mean...
But anyway.
So, yeah, it was a real shit show of an entire race. I think it's a whole lot of false positives. I agree with you.
That's it. That's it. It generates false narratives is what it does.
Yes, exactly. And look, this is what... It's really tricky, right? Because you do want intrigue and you want races not to go to plan because that upsets... in a perfect season where you've got lots of contenders, like 2 or 3 teams that could win a race, that kind of upsetting of the... What do they call it? The fruit cart or whatever is really good.
Apple cart.
The apple cart, thank you.
Yes.
Well, I want to
We're
include
on
all
fire
of
today.
who's only selling apples? In this
that's true.
economy, you got to sell everything, anything that's seasonal. And so,
They're selling Apple computers and iPads instead.
but yeah, there really is only one cart in town, and it's Max Verstappen. So it didn't. This race
What
just had
about-
all the
What about the Ferrari cart?
the Ferrari
How's
cart.
that looking? How's that
Bad.
fruit? Is it bearing
looking
fruit
bad.
or is it rotten?
I mean, Ferrari team is who was it? Vassar who said that it's like actually we're really happy even though we didn't get the points.
Vassar,
Everything's
yes.
looking pretty good.
You're trying to pull Hamilton.
No,
we're right there.
No, it's all. I mean, and look, until we can come on to signs maybe then. I know we don't
Yeah,
like
let's
to
do it.
just all race all the time, but he's multiple news stories in one man. And I particularly liked his post race where they're like, so you've got what do you think about that penalty? He's like, I'm too angry to talk. I can't do this. Like, it's like, well, why did you front up here? Like, because here you are. You're not leaving.
Even he has to, but yeah.
Yeah. You're still chatting.
Well,
How bad was it?
Well, another point that we could talk about for 20 minutes probably, but I mean, this is a point where it's like, yep, he did a bad thing. Yep, he deserved a penalty. Did he deserve to drop from third to out of the points for it for a 5-second penalty?
Yeah.
That's fucked.
It's
Sorry,
the
but that's
quirk
just
of
fucked.
a last lap red.
Yeah,
Red
the
flag
kind of
and
thing
then a
that,
safety
that
car
other
finish.
other drivers will do this. We talked about this. Other drivers will do this and then drive off and be 5 seconds ahead and not even suffer any consequences. And then this
Yeah.
stupid, like the most minimal penalty they've got is 5 seconds, and it ruins his freaking race completely.
No,
Just
there's-
absurd. And he's appealing.
Yeah, well, that is the story, right? They're like, we've got a right of appeal and we're going to use it. The way they talk about this right of appeal, though, sounds like in tennis, you've got 3 challenges. It's like, is that this rule that you can only challenge
Yeah.
a few times in a year? You get 1 and you've got to use it really wisely.
Yeah, what's it like? It's like hard rubbish collections from the council. You've only got a couple. You got to make them count. Sometimes you've got to keep that broken oven around for a couple of months because you don't want to waste it.
What we need, Rod, and I had to do some sleuthing to work this out. So last year, I was in Athens for 2 weeks. We worked remotely from there, my wife and I, and we're in our flat that we had Airbnb'd or whatever. And every now and again, you'd hear like this megaphone in Greek of someone going like like just because through a bad megaphone, right? You don't really know what it is. And I was like, is this someone like, preaching to the streets, or is this some sort of announcement? I don't know. You peek out the window, lean over your balcony, and it's just a guy with a ute, or pickup, whatever you guys call it in other countries, collecting just stuff seemingly, but I didn't know if he was selling this junk or collecting it from people. I don't know. And every now and again, there'd be another one that would just be selling flowers, like just just all these flowers in the back.
Oh.
And so I asked an old boss of mine who's from Athens, and he was like, "Oh, it's just like we don't really do hard rubbish collection, but people drive around the streets and they'll take your junk off you because they will take the parts and they will sell them, or they'll
sure.
re-energize these things. So yeah, just maybe we could get a bit more of that. So you don't have to sit on that broken oven for a few weeks. Just need some people driving around being like, we'll take that off your hands for free.
Yeah.
We'll come
I like
upstairs
that.
and grab it out of your flat.
And if
Yeah,
we could
it was
introduce that in
very
F1, then we'll get an Andretti F1 running in a couple of years, I reckon.
Hey, imagine how much debris you'd be able to clear off the track really quickly, so you didn't have to be stuck behind red
No,
flags. for all
Mick
the
Schumacher's
time.
not driving anymore.
Yeah.
The
So
problem,
do you
and I
think-
put this...
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to say, I put this up for discussion in the Discord with the Ferrari penalty. I mean, the problem that Sainz has got is even if he can appeal, they're going to go, well, what do you want us to do about it? And he's going to go, give me back third place. And they're going to
Yeah.
go, no.
No.
So, and that's but there's no other options. That's the thing. There's no other way that they can, I guess, like a warning, but you can't give a warning for an in-race incident. That's not how that works.
No, but a lot of this stuff is, I think, Ferrari can't not do this, right? It's like this is...
Sure, yeah, sure.
Whenever you put systems in place like this, like for right of appeal and all that kind of stuff, if you feel aggrieved, you can't be wandering around being like, well, that was stupid, because people are like, all right, well, you've got this way to go and try to get some recompense here or some justice, so you have to go and do that. Otherwise,
Yeah, you're right.
there's no point. But I
Yeah,
suppose they
otherwise,
would...
suck it up.
Yeah, they could argue, well, the spirit of that 5-second penalty is to try to...
That the punishment fits the crime.
Yes, exactly. So under extreme circumstances where 5 seconds separates 10 places, that's probably
that's not fair.
a thing. So, like, well, why not give, or equivalent of 3 places or something like that,
This is what I put in the Discord for discussion. Why not a 1-place penalty? And this, again, we've talked about this before, where someone does something wrong, gets a 5-second penalty, but they're already 10 seconds down the road.
Yeah.
They don't care about a 5-second penalty. But if it was a 1 position, no matter where you finish, you will fall down 1 position, no matter what. That solves that problem. And that solves this problem too. Sainz could have got a 1-position penalty.
Yeah, just write it into the rules that 5 second is the equivalent of 1 position, and we will give whatever is more appropriate. Give yourself some flexibility in the rules.
I guess so,
so that, you can say, well, if the 5 second didn't accommodate for that position, then you get the position, like, there we go. You push back a slot, take that. But, but in the end, we just, as we kind of always think, right, like, I always think anything kind of time-based needs to be served in race as fast as possible.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
So, hey, you were part of an incident. I mean, the incident was, I don't know how late was that incident. It was pretty late, actually. That was tricky. There wasn't much you could do. But yeah, he felt aggrieved.
I mean, there was 2 racing laps left, but the problem was it took an hour to do them.
Exactly. Yeah, so, what's 5 seconds in an hour, right? But in the end, there will be, regardless of the outcome, it will be, well, is it not easier just to stick by the rules you've got and just move on to the next race? Or, you made a special dispensation for this, then why do we even have the rules? You'll just make it up as you go along anyway, blah, 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 blah. And then we'll be in a seemingly worse position.
Well,
but
I can remember
have all of this.
There was a Mr. Fernando Alonso got a penalty recently that was overturned for the stupidest of legal reasons that there was. So, I don't know. I feel like he would probably feel like the rules are fine and just don't obey them. Well, don't obey the rules. Why would you do that? Does this bring us to our final talking point, Zach?
Yes, Massa.
Oh boy!
Because if you're not hip to this unique square of Formula One, Felipe Massa feels much aggrieved for not winning the Formula One championship in 2008, which is Lewis Hamilton's famously overtook Timo Glock in the last corner of Brazil to win
the championship by, I guess, a point.
Championship. Yes, but earlier in the season, Nelson Piquet Jr. had purposely crashed his car to give Fernando Alonso a win in Singapore, preventing and subsequently caused pit stops to happen at Ferrari that they fucked up, and Felipe Massa did a bad job and didn't get enough points and only loses the championship by 1 point. It's recently come out that Bernie Ecclestone was like, well, we actually knew that we should have investigated that mid-season, but we didn't really want to because we didn't want to cause all this distraction from a great season. So we left it, and then we have in our statute, so the FIA has in our rules that once that the championship has been handed over and that award ceremony happens at the end of the season, that's locked in perpetuity. That can never be changed, regardless of any investigations or something. So Felipe Massa's like, wait a second, if you knew about it, you're on an obligation to investigate it. I'm going to sue you because I should be the champion of Formula One in 2008. Yeah. This is a long time ago, Rod. This is...
15. I counted. I did 15 years.
15 years. What do you reckon? Do you think he should... a bit like Ferrari, if he's got legal recourse, should he go... He's under obligation to take it, right?
Well, I mean, I feel like the precedent that we just said 5 minutes ago, which is if there's an option in front of you, you're obliged to take it or shut up. So he has to do one of those two, I suppose. He's been shut up for quite a while. So I don't know. Maybe if he wants to press the legal button, go ahead. Otherwise, just I don't want to hear about it. I guess the thing is, they're not going to overturn the championship. But what he's after is, I guess, some kind of validation. He just wants to be validated and told you were the rightful championship that year in all of the fair races. There was one race that was unfair, and if that was appropriately adjusted, you would have been the champion. That's what he wants to be told, whether that's a trophy or just a legal letter. Nice little legal letter. One of those ones that might solve all these problems. They should look into that as a solution.
To write it for them.
The peripheral issue around this one that I think complements it and is, the irony. The ironing is delicious, Zach. Is the have you seen this petition going around with nearly 200,000 votes saying that Max Verstappen should be stripped of the championship and it should be given to Hamilton from 2 years ago. So that's fun. Because, here's the thing. If you're going to go back through history, there's a lot of championships that could go either way if you start doing that. But if you give Hamilton that one, Do you take away the 2018 one and the 2008 one? And then if you do that, what are we even doing this for? Isn't this all about just giving Hamilton the maximum championships? That's what the Formula One is about these days.
Yeah, I love that idea. Yes, we're just here as an exercise to maximise Hamilton's championships because there's been a lot of memes,
go back and
give
Alonso one of those Ferrari
champion.
ones. It wasn't fair that you got stuck behind that car. You should have won that race. Just give one to Fernando as well.
And there's endless permutations. This is the problem because it's not just about one winner, one loser. It's about all the people. That would also have implications for the people who came third that season. And then there's Then it's like, okay, well, if we finished in the points that race, then we deserve to get money.
$10,000 more, please. $10 million more, please.
Yeah, exactly. And it changes too many things.
All of the Lewis Hamilton 7 championship T-shirts that I've got, just throw them all in the bin because they're worthless.
Exactly. All the tattoos people got as well of that championship winning McLaren.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it would be bad for a lot of reasons for McLaren as well because I think it's the last time they won a championship, right? 2008.
Yeah, I believe so.
So you can't take that away from them. And then it's a fun what if though. Does Lewis Hamilton have the same career? All that kind of stuff. We could play that game at some point. But no, I don't think you can really litigate it. I think that's what the outcome master should be shooting for is that the asterisk appended to the Wikipedia article about the 2008. Exactly. It is a disputed finish. And you know what? We'll just leave it at that. I wonder if it'd be
sometimes though, it pays to just ask the question. Speaking of that, Zach, should we do a super quiz?
Yes.
We will accept a couple of questions. Should one only win one? Would one want to have won that one in round one?
Can you repeat the question?
Zach, I believe it's your turn to delight me and the listeners with the super quiz.
I have a super quiz here with 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. It is the going steady quiz, Rod, because as you sizzled earlier, we've been doing this podcast for almost 10 years now. So I thought it might be nice to look at some other long-term relationships in Formula One. So I've got, as I said, 4 questions for you here. They're pretty much all multiple choicey or this or that.
Love it.
So I'm going to assume you're ready for question number 1. Which track has hosted the most F1 races? Rod, is it Monza, Monaco, or Silverstone?
Oh, okay.
Good selection there.
Monaco.
Ooh, bad luck. It was,
Silverstone.
Close. No, it's Monza.
Really?
Yeah, they've been doing it for a long time, and we never seem to skip the Italian Grand Prix either.
No,
it's never skip Monza. It's always happening all the time.
I was thinking we never really skip the Monaco one either.
The other two as well. That's true.
Silverstone, we used to race at some other places though.
Yeah,
I know that.
at Brands Hatch.
Yes, exactly. Donington, maybe.
Yep. Donkey's Corner. These kinds of things.
You got to have it.
You got to have it. All right. So, question number 2, right?
Okay.
Which drivers have the longest pairing, the most races racing together? Is it Schumacher and Barrichello, or is it Hamilton and Bottas?
Go Schumacher, Barrichello.
It is Schumacher and Barrichello. It's a good pairing. I think it's 104 races or something.
By how much more? Because there's more race. That's what I was factoring in. Is there's more races now, but I think fewer years.
I think I've still got the article that I stole this from.
Must be pretty close.
Yeah, I think it's only 4 races difference. 104 for Schumi and Barry. Is that what people call it? If you got Schumi, is it Rubens? It's just Rubens, I suppose. And yeah, Louis and Valtteri were together for 100, which is quite nice. 100, good for them. And the photo that accompanies it is them just kind of grimly smiling, like, "Yep, here we are."
Delighted.
More of us.
I bet.
Speaking of racing partnerships, Rod, who did Sebastian Vettel race more with? Was it Mark Webber or Kimi Räikkönen?
Mark Webber.
It is Mark Webber. I was surprised that it was even you could put those in the same conversation.
Well, me too.
But it is 94 races with Vettel and Webber and 81 with Vettel and Räikkönen. Remember, it was just Vettel and Räikkönen for ages at Ferrari, every season. They were is this going to be the one? Surely we can't have more of these two. And then it was just
guess so.
Both confirmed.
Wow.
They were there for ages. And there was a lot of races.
I mean, yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it was even close.
Yeah. Yeah, totally surprised. That's good. Question number 4, Rod, the last question of the Go and Steady quiz, because after this we have to get engaged and at least tell our parents about our relationship. Speaking of the longest pairing, when did David Croft start doing Formula One commentary for Sky Sports alongside Martin Brundle? Was it 2014, 2012, or 2009?
I'll go 2012.
Ding, ding, ding. It is 2012. Which means, for the length of our podcast relationship, it has been just David Croft. He's our man.
I'm ready. I'm ready for a change.
Are you saying you want to? Do you want to bring a third into our relationship? A different person?
Something. We have to do something.
I just couldn't believe that. And it was funny. I was reading he's got a short Wikipedia page about him, and he basically the whole team was at BBC Live 5 or whatever before they all came onto Sky. So it was all Natalie Pinkham and Ted Kravitz and Anthony Davidson. They were all there. Right. And then Sky's like, we're going to do more Formula One, actually. And it was like, all right, well, let's get all those people over at Sky. Actually. Simple as that.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing about Sky is when they want to just, they've got no problem snapping their fingers. Boom. Oh, where does Wheelbarrow Money come from? Don't even worry about it.
Don't ask any questions.
Yeah, it's fine. We also host the darts. That's how we got Crofty in.
Crofty and the darts. Great.
I don't understand that relationship. But
well, I don't know.
There must be one.
It's interesting because I don't. In my mind, like David Croft is the ring in. We dedicate too much of our podcast talking about David Croft, but he's fascinating to me because he seems like the kind of utility commentator, and I think that's pretty common for like dedicated sports that they do that thing, but then they also do like 6 different sports at the Olympics.
They could do other things, yeah, exactly.
And then they also do darts. Yeah, exactly.
Or a Wheatley.
Yeah, or a Wheatley. But he's a bit of a sporting savant. Like I feel like he could comment on anything.
Oh, you're more of a fan than I am. I'm more of a Dennis Cometti guy, but I mean, yes. I know you're a big Wheatley head.
Dennis Cometti.
And you could throw in some UK names that I don't know. That's fine.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I feel like so many of them are just like football specific. That although we did have a fun conversation about Gary Lineker pre-show last time we we had to
I learned some stuff.
On we worked through some things.
True.
On
it was good for me.
Line Kerman. That's it for the Go and Steady quiz, Rod.
Beautiful.
4 questions, neat as you like, capturing the core relationships that Formula One has had in recent years. Maybe we'll be talking about the Russell-Hamilton relationship for a very, very, very long time. Or maybe there'll be a future where Verstappen and Perez were both like, surely they can't go another season together. Perez is 50. Surely not. But no.
I don't know. I've been seeing some articles. I mean, my news aggregate app has somehow it's been throwing at me some really weird sources for news, and it knows I like Formula One, but it seems to really favour Sports Illustrated's Formula One coverage. No. And man, there's some bonkers stuff going on that website. I feel like some people need to be reached out to in the DMs just to be asked if they're okay. And I mean, we're nearly into this show. We're going to run out of time, but one day an audit of Sports Illustrated's Formula One content needs to be done because it's wild stuff. It's wild stuff, and you just see stories that are like, Verstappen's going to walk away, and Hamilton's going to walk away, Russell's going to walk away, and
they're all walking away.
Wolfsie's going to walk away, and then Marco's going to walk away, and it's like, man, is there going to be anyone left? Nick De Vries is going to be running that place.
Nick De Vries. I feel like he's not coming up in very many feeds, because you know who is coming up in all the feeds before, as maybe my final thought. Red Bull are doing a lot of Daniel Ricciardo chat. I really feel like they're pumping the pump for Daniel to come back into Formula One, no doubt about it.
Imagine following the Australian Grand Prix where Daniel's there cosplaying as a Formula One driver. I mean, I saw on eBay, no shit, a signed big, those big cardboard heads? A Daniel Ricciardo signed head from the Australian Grand Prix being sold on eBay for $500. He's not even a driver. I just don't get it.
I tell you what, I see him in his Red Bull race suit all the time. I'm like, when was this photo taken? Oh, last week, because he's either at the factory, he's either doing something, like this sad story of like, what did they do to our boy at all these other teams? We didn't even recognize his driving habits when he came back. Like, they turned him into this monster.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, he can punch up our Instagram captions like nobody.
Look at these meta tags. Brilliant. Yes. Yes. So I'm looking forward to Perez's untimely demise post Monza, probably.
Oh, no.
That's what always happens. And then they'll be like, we've made a shift. And we've
Again,
decided that...
not according to some Sports Illustrated articles I've been reading. He's apparently in titled contention. That's for a whole other show anyway.
Yes.
The last note that we have is just questions and outro. Is there any questions to answer?
I mean,
Do we have any questions?
I don't think so. Do we have any? You've already
Doesn't
brought up a
seem
couple
to
of
be.
comments from the Discord, so that's good.
Yeah, that's true. That's a
so-
nice opportunity to shout out. Everyone should join the Discord. Twitter, the thing with Twitter is it's not so great anymore. So jump into the Discord. That's where I want to get it popping off. So what you can do if you want to, go to superlicense.fm. Zach, what the FM stands for?
Finally
Fix me.
made this podcast.
There you go. And there's links there to follow the Twitter if you want, or to get into the Discord, or to support us on Patreon if you want to throw us a couple of dollars, keep the
Couple
show
of bucks,
running.
keep the lights on.
But that's where you find all the things, and definitely encourage everyone to jump into the old Discord.
Yeah, I can 100% confirm we're the only Formula One podcast that is not using AI models to generate any of our show. So there we go.
For the moment.
We're human made by a couple of Formula
Well,
men.
Well, mate, there's a couple of weeks until Azerbaijan. We've already said that. I would really love, and I'll tease this in case I do it, but I would really love to do like pre-race, maybe like an hour before the race. Hop on YouTube and do some kind of video live streamy, like look at some dumb stuff that's been going on in the space, look at some weird tweets or whatever, and just kill some time before race because it really suits me well in terms of the time zone. But I don't know if I can pull anything together on that. I just got to learn some software. But if I can do that, then I'll tweet out or put it in the Discord to say we're doing that.
I could be there.
And yeah, I mean, if you're free, it would be great to have you with me because I always fly straighter with my wingman by my side.
I will be your Rubens Barrichello to your
Beautiful.
Michael Schumacher because we're Formula mates.
We are Formula mates. Well, yeah, if that happens, keep your eyes out, and if anything happens in that space, we'll let you know. But that's it
Check
for
my
this
calendar.
time.
I think I'm available. Great. Nice one.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Well, we'll try and tee something up in that regard. But we've run out of time, so until next time, which will be ? My name's been Rod.
My name's been Zach.
Talk to you again, hopefully soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Give it a rip, mate.
Oh, yeah.